Hi, welcome to the Incompatibles. I'm Laurie.
I'm Barron.
I'm an introvert.
I'm an extrovert.
I take my time.
I get it done.
I lean left.
I lean right.
I'm a dreamer.
I like reality.
I can read emotions.
I know how to read a map.
How do incompatibles make a life together?
We've done it for 40 years.
All right, so you're a lawyer. I'm a psychologist. I care about people.
You care about people too.
Yeah, I know. So I think one of our incompatibilities is the way we interact with other people, with each other in terms of sensitivity versus kind of
Problem solving.
Okay, problem solving.
I focus on the non-emotional aspect
Yes.
of the conversation, whereas you are like the
Oh my gosh,
Deanna
yeah.
Troi from like the old Star Trek. You like soak up all the emotional energy in the room and translate it for everybody else.
It's true, which can be a challenge.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Where does that skill come from? Because I have little of that.
I've always been an observer, and I was sensitive as a child. I cried when I colored outside the lines. I was very aware of what people were thinking, feeling. Big family. I was the one who kind of pulled back and observed.
Okay.
And then being a psychologist, I think I really honed the skill of listening beneath the words, like listening to the emotional content and what was not being said. So while you attend to the very concrete, what's being said.
Concrete, dense guys, I think how you described me earlier
Yes.
in our relationship.
Right. I'm aware of feelings. I'm aware of a lot of other things. So I think an example of when I feel like we're incompatible is, let's say we're dealing with a store clerk who is not really doing their job right or inconveniencing us.
Yes.
You will be more ready to confront the problem and
I like to use the word solve.
solve. Okay.
Yeah, let's see if we can get to a solution together.
Yes.
Now, that person may feel bad that they didn't happen to think about it or they weren't able to solve the problem without assistance. But I think the object is to solve the problem, not to engage in an emotionally satisfying experience. Okay.
I'm thinking of a specific example when you had turned away because, I don't know, hours or something in a place you wanted to be, and you thought that they were kind of pulling something over on you. And I just wanted to kind of cower and disappear because of the way you were confronting the person.
Right.
And I'm thinking, I don't care that much. I'd rather preserve the person's feelings or the relationship.
Yeah, I get that. You're going to get to that quicker than I am. But let me remind you that when we went to the hotel and they didn't have our room ready and our children was like 1 a.m. and we laying around in the lobby for like
Yes.
2 hours.
Yes.
And the next day you're like, well, okay, we got a room. I'm like, no. They were like, well, we're going to comp your room. I said, no, what we want is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
And they also gave us 1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
4,
we got a
5
beautiful
because we
room.
asked.
Yes.
No, but we got more than that.
Yeah.
So it was an appropriate conversation, an appropriate ask. I don't think you want to go overboard, but you have to defend yourself.
I still want to hide though when you ask for it. Maybe I'll
I get
try.
that. You know what? You're not as open to confrontation as I am. The
Yeah.
fact that somebody's uncomfortable with the conversation, to me, that's an opportunity. I think I thrive in chaos, and going into when people are upset, I'm okay with that. You can be upset.
Yeah, and in a way I admire that because I think that it makes it hard if you're trying to preserve people's feelings. It can be a boundary issue because it's not my job necessarily to do their side of the thing, of the conversation, of the interaction, of
No,
the
it isn't.
exchange.
I mean-
and yet I will take that on. So I think the fact that you can kind of let the person be uncomfortable can be a strength.
Well, I'm not letting them do that. I have no control over that person. I have no responsibility to them. other
right.
than
Okay.
Treat them with
Fair
dignity
enough.
and to be respectful and to be like a normal person, okay? I don't mean being uncivil. You can be civil and still ask for what you want. I don't think the
Yes.
fact that you're asking for something makes you a jerk. You have to be able to ask in a way which gets both parties to the resolution that works best. And sometimes that means asking. And if you don't ask, you're not going to get anything.
Right. Okay. There are times when your intensity, the lawyer in you, comes out.
Yeah, that's part of the skill is being able
It
to
is.
talk in a reasonable way, but maybe you change the tone of your voice, maybe you change how you emphasize words. That's just the way you use your ability.
Okay, and I do think there are times that is effective. I've seen it, and I definitely have enjoyed the benefits. For example, when we were screwed out of our hotel with young children and you got us in a beautiful penthouse, it was great. But I think that there are times when actually it can work better
Sure.
to engage a person and be aware of what they need from the interaction. And maybe what they need is saving face.
They may need that. That's exactly right. You may need to figure out where the negotiation needs to go so you can both get what you want. Now, the other person wants it to be over, and they want it to be...
That's true with you.
That's right. They want it to be over.
That is true.
They want the interaction to end with some result where they can feel like they
just want you
done
to
their
leave.
job. That's okay. You know what? You know what? You promised X, you've delivered Y. We need to get back to X as close as possible. So we're going to stay here until that happens. And the fact that you're uncomfortable and you haven't thought of all solutions, I'm okay with that. I can sit here with that lack of comfort for a while until we get there. Now, I'm not going to scream in your face. I'm not going to be a jerk to you, but you are definitely going to know what my needs are.
That is something about trusting the adversarial process too,
Yes.
maybe? Is that...
Yeah.
You think that comes into that? Because that's kind of a weird model for a psychologist to think about because...
Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah. With the psychologist, I mean, I see both parties as responsible to kind of tune in to each other's needs. But with an adversarial process, you're arguing your own side as well as you can, trusting that the other person's arguing their own side as well as they can.
Yes.
In fact, I think I've learned that from you, which is why I argue with you.
You're good at it.
Quite
You've
well
gotten
now.
so much better.
Yes, I have.
You are.
And there's something
Yeah.
rather liberating about being able to not do your part because I know you're going to do it.
Right.
You're going to take care of yourself.
Well, at the same time, you've helped me understand that, I need to maybe move in a different direction or approach something completely different. Let's just not say anything, right? Let's be quiet. Pay attention to the emotional content in the room. What emotions are happening right now? How does that person feel? How can I help them feel better or at least, move them away from where they're at to something better? And there certainly are times when confrontation isn't the way you want to go.
Right.
You want to build consensus. You want to maybe you just want to step away, right? You want to leave a void and come back to it. You want to just retreat and then, strategically and then come back. You think about that. We'll come back in 20 minutes. Leave that person alone to let them do their job and come back in 20 minutes. Say, I'll be back in 20 minutes. Maybe we can sort it out later. That might work. Absolutely. Especially with somebody, who's in a service job and they really need time for you to just step away.
Mm-hmm. So between you and me, I think there can be some challenge there, right? I think I still, even though I know you and I'm comfortable arguing with you, I think I want you to sometimes just figure it out.
You want to just rely on my problem solving? Or what?
No, I want you to figure out what I want.
Yeah, that's the eternal ask from every wife in history. Okay, why doesn't the husband know what I want? He's supposed to know what I want. Okay, that is not true.
Okay,
all right, I get the dream.
Sexist,
okay,
I think both genders have that.
Well, yeah. Oh my God. No, every guy right now driving is like, oh yeah, I've felt that before. So I get it. I get it. I would love it if you knew that when I walked in that I wanted these 5 things, right? In fact, what we used to do when I come home from work, back when the kids were little, I said, just let me sit for like 5 minutes before you ask me for something.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you had a list of things that you had me ready to you were going to hand off to me when I walked in the door.
Huh.
So I would just let me sit for 5 minutes.
Oh, that's when I was
and
home with babies? Yeah.
Right. And you were like, okay, that sounds good. But you listened to me because it was hard when I walked in after working all day, and then you would give me a list of a honey-do list right when I came through the door, and that's a little tough. But I could adjust, play with the kids a little bit first. I always wanted to play with the kids first, and then do the honey-do stuff after that. And I think we negotiated that, but it took a little bit of awareness for us to learn.
Okay. So there is the old mind reading wish that I think at some level everybody has a bit of a need for. The thing is that there is this idea that to ask for it diminishes, that somehow.
Well, it definitely blows up the myth and the mythology around men who somehow are able to absorb telepathically the needs of their wives and to tune in their emotional state and somehow satisfy that need through awareness. I mean, come on. No, you talk about,
come on.
Yeah,
but there is a place.
Wait.
There is a place for remembering what people's preferences are and
absolutely
tending to them.
Yeah, but it doesn't. Yeah, but I think it's helpful to not create that expectation that somehow your partner's disappointed you because they didn't realize X, Y, and Z, and you needed that, and they should have known. Okay,
you got a little intensity in your voice there.
Okay,
you have some feelings about this?
Not that strong. Actually, I think we're pretty good about it. I think initially when we in our relationship, this certainly was a conversation. I think every couple has this conversation. So I think it's good to just initially state what you want, and then hopefully they'll remember. Now, that's the other side of it. If they keep forgetting, that's another conversation.
Right. We're hearing from you that this show is leading to great conversations. Visit incompatiblespodcast.com, donate, and keep the conversations going. So I think the other thing that I think we're different in is that, remember our son responding to me, I like to be asked if I would do something, not told.
Oh,
ordered.
That's clear. Okay,
right?
Go ahead.
And even if it's really important to me, I'm probably going to ask to give you an opportunity to even offer it. I think that
I'm losing the thread here, so I'm not sure what you're saying.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Try again. See, this is why it's hard for guys, okay? I don't know what you're saying.
Okay.
What do you want me to do?
What's with the guys? You are acting like all guys are the same.
All guys are not the same, but I'd say there's a preponderance of guys who really want to know what you're talking about right now. So go ahead.
I'll go back to, we did write a book about raising boys, and there were some differences just based on some hearing differences in young children, right? That girls felt yelled at, and I can feel that, when you might be just using a normal volume. And guys can lose the thread because of possibly that kind of hearing or the auditory sensitivity.
Okay. So your desire is that people would ask you instead of tell you to do something. I think that's fair. I think most people would prefer to be asked than told because telling implies a power relationship as opposed to a partnership.
Right. I do remember when our son, though, I asked him to do something. He said, do I have a choice? And I said, no. And he said, then why are you asking me?
Exactly.
So, that was interesting. That was fair. So I think there is that where you want things very clear, concrete, direct. I want there to be a little wiggle room so I can feel like I'm actually doing it out of my own free will.
In a general way, it makes sense that you would want to have control over each of your actions throughout the day. However, life requires us to do things on schedule sometimes, and you don't actually get a choice. You have to pay your taxes on a certain day.
Okay.
You have to do something, or there's going to be consequences. Now, maybe you're saying, I don't care what the consequences are, it's my choice. I think there's just more mundane things during the day. They have to take place, okay? You want to mail something, the mail carrier is going to come at a certain time. If you don't get it in the mailbox, you're going to miss it. So you don't get to have a big emotional journey about that, or you just have to put it in the mailbox. So what are the touch points for you when you want more control versus you just have to suck it up and do something?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you're hesitating. See, this is the incompatibility, okay? These are the moments where I need something to happen. Especially when it comes to the exit's coming up in a quarter mile. I need to know. Okay, so that's one thing.
This is a great example.
Right.
Okay. Yes, we're driving along, right?
Yeah.
And you have really good sense of direction. I don't so much. So sometimes, though, you want GPS. But you don't tell me until we're approaching the exit, and then you want
No. You have plenty of time. It's just you have to come out of your reverie and back to the world where you have to engage with a physical object and get the GPS. I give you plenty of warning, but to you it seems like not enough.
No.
That's
No,
an incompatibility.
you do not give me a plenty of warning.
I'm gonna give you I need to give you like a 10-mile heads up.
Yeah.
For you to get like the exit number.
Yeah, tell me when we're going there that you're probably going to need some assistance.
So you're sensitive, and I'm a problem solver, also known as insensitive.
I was wondering if you're going to use that word.
That was the implied
Use that word.
statement
Right,
there. Yeah.
right.
The implication
Well,
is
you
that
know,
I'm
I've
insensitive.
written about narcissism, and that is really a good example of when it helps to not be so sensitive, because somebody who's narcissistically wired, and especially in a really exploitive kind of way,
Yes.
if you are too tuned in and
Responsive.
and trying to take care of them, you're screwed.
You wrote the only winning move is not to play. So I get
yeah.
that as well.
So that's where I think I feel like, okay, I'd like to borrow your insensitivity sometimes.
Problem solving skills.
Yeah.
You can substitute that. Just do like a global replace in your mind when that comes up.
And when do you feel like you might want to borrow my sensitivity?
I remember one time I was talking to a coworker. In what I thought was a normal voice. And I was just sort of declarative sentences and just normal tone.
Yeah.
And I noticed like what felt really bad. She her eyes started getting, moist. And I'm like,
no.
oh my gosh. I'm like, I stopped talking. I'm like, okay, please, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to I'm not raising my voice. I really, and I just had to dial it back.
Yeah.
Because I was clearly impacting her in a way I did not intend, right? And I wasn't. I was just having what I thought was a normal conversation in a normal tone. But to her, and because of her background, that was not normal. It was actually too loud and kind of aggressive. So I was like, wow, that was a good education. But I did dial it back, and I was aware of it. But that's reading the room and understanding the emotional content, absolutely a skill you've helped me with.
Yeah.
And it's great to have you in the room because I can always look at you and ask you questions. And you can say, okay, that's an emotion, and you're having an emotion, and this is what it's called. I'm like, yeah, that's right, I am.
Right.
So that's always been helpful.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because I do think that sometimes you're not aware of how that intensity comes off. And I think that, I think we've talked about this, that you, at times when you have not been doing courtroom work, I have told you need to be in the courtroom because I think it's play for you sometimes too, to just fire off, just get in that space where there's an adversarial process going on.
I'll admit to that.
Yeah.
I absolutely, if I'm away from something too long that I feel comfortable with, I want to get back to it. And maybe it seems unusual for others. You want to be using your talents in the right venue, in the right atmosphere. And it's easy for anyone, I think, to misunderstand where they're at or misuse their skills if they're not paying attention. So it is helpful for me when you tell me to dial it back or you give me, what is it, holster? That's the word. You tell me to holster. I'm like, oh, that's a good word. Yeah, okay, right?
Right. I think that's kind of establishing the ground rules sometimes. Like if we're arguing, it's like, okay, that tone is too intense,
too
and
much,
I'm not, can't be fully in the room with that tone or whatever. And so we have to adjust. I suppose for me, I have to be more clear and more
instead of elliptical,
right? And
vague.
or freeze you out.
Either one, freezing or speaking like a Zen master, that's
in cones.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad that I have you as a partner because it's made my life so much more enjoyable, wonderful. And I've been blessed to have you as a partner for a wife for almost 40 years.
Yeah.
And even though we are incompatible in many ways, our compatibilities, our love for each other, surmount all that. And I think that if everybody is willing to give their partner a chance and to listen to their other person's story and thoughts and feelings about what they think are important, maybe they'll find a way together.
Well, I think you just need to fight.
Just need to fight? Okay, talk about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, yes. Respect key. And I think actually good fighting happens when two people respect each other.
Absolutely.
And there's that
And you're good at it.
framework. I see a lot of relationships where no conflict until the person walks out the door because they're so pissed off. I don't always like to fight, and I don't always like the way we fight. I don't think we always do it. I mean, we certainly don't always do it elegantly. And yet, for me, I feel like it's the best way to get it out there and to negotiate our differences, to kind of make the unconscious conscious. We can see each other better when we both are kind of there in full force.
When your personality is fully present and mine is.
Yeah, personality, right.
I like what Phyllis Diller said, don't go to bed angry, stay up
and fight.
fight.
Yep.